is the people you meet, right, through photography, like this kind of thing. Like you and I never would have hang out or know each other, but it's, I don't know. That's one of the big gifts of photography too, right? It's obviously not even just the image per se. So
Yeah. Sorry, man.
Okay, wait. Let me try to do this real quick. I just want to share this. I know some people are some people already listening. Maybe they can see what's up if you're in here. How do I? I should know. I know obrigado. I know hola. How do I say welcome in Portuguese? Let me think. Wait.
Bem-vindo, bienvenido.
Yeah. Bem-vindo, bem-vinda, right? Bem-vinda.
Yeah. Seja bem-vindo. I start every life like this, Seja bem-vindo todo mundo, vamos com tudo, pessoas de luz.
Yeah! I love it. I love that.
It's a great day for us. It's an honor, Really, really is so important. And all my study, my ex-alums know your book, because your book is like every class I do.
Yeah,
I have your book like in my arm,
Well, we should do something where and let me just create this really quick too. So I'm multitasking here just for a moment, but we should do something where I zoom into a class of yours or something. That would be fun to do as well. So let's do that. And how do I do this, people? One second.
Okay, don't worry, man.
Here we are. There we go. Done. Shared live.
So look, we make like this, because I don't know if the guys here, everyone, my English is horrible, man. And if you don't understand, all the Portuguese guys don't understand too. So we talk. I have some questions for ask you, okay? And I already write all the questions in Portuguese and English, okay?
Yeah.
So we ask in Portuguese first of all. I do in Portuguese, and I send the question to for your WhatsApp. If you don't understand me,
yes,
you can. Okay, when I ask in Portuguese, I send it for you in WhatsApp, and you read. But the first, I have the guys already here in the classroom. The guys coming, and I introduce you your job, because I don't know if you have somebody don't know me and don't know you. All right, so I introduce you your job. And I want to show you some pictures. I want to talk about your books a little bit, okay? For all the guys here, know you, all important you have in photography, less for me, for my journey and my school. And before we started talking.
Yes, that sounds great.
Ok? Para todo mundo que tá chegando aí, hein, galera? Para todo mundo que tá aqui, esse aqui é o Chris Orwig, legal demais. Seja todo mundo bem-vindo, rapaziada. Isso é uma alegria muito grande. Quem é meu aluno aí já vai comentando, já vai falando, eu. Você que não conhece a gente, já tá aqui sabendo, tá? Esse cara aqui do meu lado, ó, esse cara aqui do meu lado, eu tô me sentindo assim, we're close, né? We're close now.
We are.
Eu me identifico, galera, muito, because you surf, right? You surf?
Yes.
Yes, man. So I surfed too. Like 30 years ago, I started surfing.
Oh, that is great. I love that.
Yeah. Então, o Chris, galera, eu conheci o trabalho do Chris em 2010, quando eu voltei de Barcelona, da Espanha, tá? O livro dele, principalmente o livro que mais me chamou a atenção, ele tem livros incríveis, mas o livro dele, a Poesia Visual, né, um guia para a inspiração fotográfica, é um dos livros mais importantes que eu tenho na minha vida. Quem é meu aluno sabe da importância desse livro, né? A Poesia Visual. O Chris, ele fala da fotografia. Cara, é incrível, porque a gente vai falar os retratos. Os retratos do Chris, ele é muito peculiar, né? A gente fala que os retratos do Chris é como se todo mundo que ele fotografasse fosse amigo próximo, fosse muito íntimo, porque ele consegue uma intimidade muito grande com os fotografados, tá? Vocês vão ver aqui, galera, ó, vamos colocar aqui, ó, beleza. Aqui, galera, é o Instagram do Chris Orwig, tá? Então todo mundo, vamos logo seguir esse cara, follow him, né? Todo mundo aqui vamos seguir, porque é muito inspirador, né? Você vai ver, a gente fala muito sobre essa questão da sensibilidade da luz, o sentimento da luz, e principalmente no retrato, né? A quem é o nosso aluno sabe que a gente fala muito sobre você ser aceito pelo seu retratado, você conseguir vencer a barreira técnica e simplesmente ser aceito por ele, certo? Então, o Chris é tido mais ou menos com isso, que todo mundo que ele fotografa pode ser grandes campeões de surf, porque o cara fotografa Chirs Orwig, Rob Machado, assim também como grandes personalidades artistas, mas você vê que ele consegue uma proximidade, uma intimidade, como se cada retratado fosse realmente um amigo próximo. Certo? E isso é o mais incrível, e isso é o que é mais difícil alcançar. Você ser aceito, você ganhar o respeito do seu retratado, tá certo? E esse cara faz de forma incrível. Vamos só checar aqui quem já tá falando aqui. Salve, salve, galera! Salve, Leandro! Salve, rapaziada! Guilherme, todo mundo aí! Salve, Jorge Leão, Jeff! Salve todo mundo, galera! Que bacana, todo mundo aqui! Show, show, show! Legal demais, tá? Ó, já também vou pedir desculpas para vocês, hein, todo mundo, porque o meu inglês é horrível. Já falei aqui para ele, ele já me perdoou. You forgive me, you forgive me. So, o Chris já me perdoou aqui. O meu inglês é ruim mesmo. Eu falei para ele que o meu inglês eu aprendi nas ruas do Ceará, entendeu? Então, eu nunca abri um livro de inglês na minha vida. Pero, se quieres hablar espanhol, nosotros podemos también, ¿vale? Pero inglês, tranquilo, vosotros, tranquilo. Tem aí francês aqui na jogada, beleza? Então, já pedindo desculpas, perdão aí pelo meu inglês não ser tão legal, mas vai dar certo, tá? Eu não podia perder a chance de falar com esse cara, com o Chris Orwig, não? Então, eu mesmo sem falar inglês, eu falei, come on, let's do it. Even don't speak English, I never lost the chance to talk to you, man.
yeah, it's great. And also, just someone said in the comments, is this going to be in English? We're going to do a little bit of both. I only speak English and Spanish, so those of you are English speakers. But we're just starting in Portuguese. But keep going, Marcos. This is awesome.
Ok. So, então, galera, o seguinte, o Chris Orwig, os livros dele, assim também como um livro maravilhoso, que é a Luta Criativa, ele, para mim, eu leio, vocês sabem que eu leio muitos filósofos também, Roland Barthes, Susan Sontag, Walter Benjamin, a gente fala da fotografia da forma filosófica, porém ninguém fala da fotografia de uma forma clara e acessível como Chris Orwig, no meu ponto de vista. Porque ele vai falar da forma mais poética da imagem, a forma mais sensível da imagem, de uma forma que qualquer pessoa pode entender. Então, quando você lê o livro, qualquer livro do Chris Orwig, ele vai falar como se ele estivesse falando do seu lado. Ele vai deixar claro questões, como a gente vai falar das questões de menos é mais, como a questão do ser para se tornar. Ele vai falar de uma forma muito clara. Você lê eu até brinco que o livro do Chris Orwig você consegue aprender muito profundamente, mesmo lendo em uma rede. Mesmo lendo em uma rede, você consegue aprender. Diferente daqueles outros livros que a gente fala aqui, né? De Philippe Dubois, certo? De toda essa rapaziada. Beleza? Então, cara, é fundamental essa leitura. Se você quer entender a fotografia como linguagem, se você quer entender a fotografia como forma de relacionamento, certo? Porque para mim, e eu acredito que para o Chris também, beleza? Deixa eu ver aqui. Acredito que para mim e para o Chris também, a fotografia é uma forma de se relacionar. A fotografia não é uma técnica ou uma captura. Não é, certo? Porque você sempre está fotografando alguém ou para alguém, ok? Então é muito importante que você entenda isso, que é um relacionamento. E para você entender de relacionamento, você precisa entender de pessoas, precisa principalmente autoconhecimento. Você precisa entender quais os processos, porque o Chris, ele fala muito de creativity and poetry in photography, right?
Yeah.
Right, Chris?
Sí, senhor.
Yeah. Então, a criatividade, because creativity, for me, Chris, is the most difficult things to teach, you know? Creativity is difficult because you have to touch inside the guy.
Yes. It comes from within. I'm with you.
Yeah. Então, galera, todo mundo pergunta criatividade, como ser criativo, né? Como eu ter fotografias incríveis, como todo mundo quer saber, porque diafragma, obturador, ISO é fácil, controle de luz é fácil, profundidade de campo, né? Depth of field é fácil, certo? A técnica, ela é quadrada, a técnica, ela é cartesiana. Não tem como fugir da técnica, é física, é óptica. Porém, a sensibilidade, a criatividade tem que ser nutrida, tem que partir de dentro. E se você quer chegar em retratos, que retratos é um estilo de fotografia mais difícil de se fazer. I believe, Chris, que portrait is really difficult, because you have to, between you and the guys, you have to a relationship like this.
Yes.
It's not easy. You have to transcender the techniques.
Yes.
So, então, galera, o retrato para mim merece muito respeito. Respeito. Quem faz grandes retratos merece muito respeito, porque você está tratando com pessoas. E as pessoas têm que lhe aceitar, você tem que conquistar o respeito delas, para ela poder lhe respeitar. E aí, só então, você vai conseguir fazer um grande retrato. E o Chris, nos seus livros, ele abre isso. Ele abre isso para vocês. Ele abre tudo isso para vocês, de uma forma clara. Clara. Por isso que vocês têm que marcar esse nome e ler tudo. Vocês têm que ler tudo dele. Todos os livros. I tell the guys, read all your books, man. All the books. I tell you, all the guys, read the books.
And it's fun. I can understand a lot of this just by piecing together words. And I love listening to you and your energy, man. Marcos.
Thank you, man. When you speak a little bit Spanish too, in Spanish and Portuguese is too close.
Yeah.
And, então, galera, vamos lá. Cadê vocês aqui? Vocês estão falando. The guys write English too for you here in the chat.
Yes. Thank you.
Essa galera aí, bacana demais, galera. Seja todo mundo bem-vindo. Boa noite. Vamos nessa, Kátia. Rapaziada toda, legal demais, tá? Então, galera, tem 2 livros aqui do Chris que, assim, são os primeiros que vocês têm que ver, tá? Que esse aqui... hey, Chris, this book is... let me show you. Visual poetry.
Yes.
Don't have more in Brazil. All the guys want to buy and don't find.
Interesting.
All my story ask for Chris, why don't have this book more?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny you bring that up too, because I got the rights back to the book, which means I could republish it. And I've been wanting to do an update to it. So it's good to hear that.
Yeah, because a lot of people, hey man, your book is so difficult to find.
Yeah. If
you find some old used one, it's really too expensive, man. Oh yeah. It's like 5 times the price.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we gotta fix that.
I have mine. Então, galera, esse livro aqui, esses 2 aqui são maravilhosos, a Luta Criativa também. Quem não leu, leia, porque eles são realmente muito, muito importantes, tá? Então, antes de a gente começar aqui a falar, né, a gente começar a perguntar, separei a pergunta de vocês. Eu quero que vocês entendam que o que eu vou falar aqui com o Chris hoje é justamente buscar dele o conceito que ele tem sobre fotografia, o conceito que ele tem, né, o que ele acredita ser realmente essa relação entre fotógrafo e fotografado, essa relação com a câmera, né? Porque o Chris, ele tem um conceito muito legal sobre o que é a ferramenta da câmera, para que serve. Muita gente pensa que a fotografia é só a câmera, mas não é assim. Não é assim, ok? Então, o que eu estou muito feliz aqui falando com ele, né, galera? Muito, muito, muito feliz mesmo. Ele é muito importante. Nunca imaginei que o Chris ia trocar essa ideia. É uma pessoa humilde, cara. Eu falei com ele no Instagram e ele, ei, Marcos, quê? Não acredito, sério? Né? When you ask me back, in the Instagram, I say, holy shit, I don't believe it. Chris Orwig, back the message. Então, galera, vamos aproveitar aqui, tá? Eu separei 6 perguntinhas pro Chris, e vocês podem fazer as perguntas aqui para ele também, beleza? Eu vou começar aqui, deixa eu ver aqui. Lembrando, tá, rapaziada? Lembrando, nenhum autor, o livro do Chris são best-sellers, nenhum autor vai falar de fotografia na essência como o Chris, de fotografia, criatividade, a linguagem, a poesia. Lembrando que nós da Travessa da Imagem e eu não... Deixa eu... Eita. Peraí. The camera, the battery is over.
Okay. No problem, Marcos. It's so fun to connect with you, man, and to do this.
I changed the battery. Todo mundo aí, fica aí, hein, galera? Vou mudar aqui a bateria.
Of course that happens, but that's part of being creative, right? Is like making the most with the situation. So maybe I'll just jump in while you're throwing a battery in there. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And it's so cool that photography can connect all of us who are on this, even though we can live in different parts of the world, speak different languages too. Marcos, keep going.
Yeah. What you say now is amazing, man. You in California, yeah. I'm here in Brazil. All the guys in the entire world can join us in talking about photography, love, life. This is amazing. Só terminando, tá, pessoal? A gente passa pro Chris e a gente passa lá para fazer as perguntas, tá? Eu me identifico muito com o que o Chris fala, com o trabalho dele. Por quê? Porque eu entendo que a fotografia não é técnica, porém, existe técnica na fotografia. Mas a fotografia é uma linguagem, é uma forma de relacionamento. Você precisa da técnica? Claro, se você tiver uma câmera, uma lente, você vai precisar controlar a luz. Ok. A fotografia tem técnica, mas ela não é somente técnica. A fotografia, ela é uma comunicação. Fotografia é relacionamento, tanto que é linguagem fotográfica. É linguagem fotográfica, não é fotografia técnica, certo? Então é importante você diferenciar o que é a técnica e o que é a linguagem, a narrativa, a forma de você contar histórias. Porque no final das contas, a gente sempre está contando histórias. A gente está fotografando a história de alguém. A gente está fotografando a história de um lugar. A gente está fotografando a nossa história. Certo? A nossa história. Então você tem que entender que só a técnica e só o manuseio do equipamento não vai fazer você fotógrafo. Nós não formamos fotógrafos. Nós formamos pessoas sensíveis. Né? Eu vou até falar essa frase aqui para o Chris. Nós não formamos. Viu, Chris? Because in my school, I don't want make some guy be photographer, but a sensitive people. You know, when you have sensitivity, I don't know the words. Yeah. When you have this inside of you, your eyes open more.
Yeah.
You can see through the landscape.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you only have the techniques, you can do this, you know, because you all the time is gonna be behind the camera, you know, because por isso que nós falamos sempre, tá, galera? Por isso que nós falamos sempre que a fotografia é de dentro para fora. A fotografia é de dentro para fora. É muito importante você lembrar, né, que a fotografia vem de dentro para fora, ok? So, Chris, if you want to talk a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
bem-vindos, galera.
Well, one, I mean, I love your enthusiasm and your energy, and that one quote you said where, you know, when we're sensitive inside, our eyes open more, and you can begin to see the truth of a landscape or whatever you're photographing. I could not agree more. And that, you know, you know, the thing, of course, with all of this is, I think, to, at least for me, to explore how photography can help me to become more sensitive and to cultivate that, and to, that it's not so much like the picture maybe isn't even the point, but the point is to grow and to change and to become aware in new ways, to be filled with a sense of awe and wonder and delight, and to be humbled. Anyway, all those things. So I couldn't agree more, man. And I love the energy and vitality you bring to it. It is contagious. So I just want to learn how to talk like you. Like you're so animated, so excited.
I don't know. Maybe the surf will do this with me, man.
Yes. So someday we have to do a workshop together, a live one. You know, like that would be really fun, dude. Let's do that.
No, man. Oh, don't say that, man. I go for you in California.
Yeah. Either way, either you come here or I go there, or we do both. I mean, we should do it. I mean, I think we resonate with our approach. You know.
Hey. Como é que se diz? Let me say, my English now is already over.
Yeah.
Deixa eu falar aqui, ó. Eu vou te cobrar. I have a good assistant here, the Google Translation.
Yes.
I will charge you, man, about this workshop, no?
Yes, let's do it.
So let's do it. Chris, I start with some ask. Okay for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. I wrote. Hein, pessoal, galera que tá aqui no chat, beleza? Chris aqui falando, uma galera aqui. Galera que tá aqui no chat, se vocês quiserem fazer perguntas também, façam aqui que depois a gente vai vendo, beleza? E já tá chegando aqui também o André, um amigo que mora no Canadá, que ele tem um inglês perfeito e ele vai aqui ajudar a gente nesse português, inglês, Spanish, tudo, tá? Vamos lá, Chris. Let me see. So, the first question, okay? No, I asked you before when talk before get in live, but you're from California. You photographer, the best surfer in the world, so you surf it too, right?
Yes. Yeah, I enjoy the ocean. There's something about, you know, getting in the water and the whole experience of it, and the people you meet, and the community, and the many different ways you can ride waves. And yeah, it's a huge source of inspiration. And I live just a couple miles from the ocean, and then trails out of my backyard up into to go hiking in the mountains. And so it's sort of a neat zone to be in here.
Yeah. What is the surfing for you in your life? What is the culture? What the surfing do with your life?
Yeah, well, I think I mean, a lot of people who enjoy surfing know that experience when you first duck dive and it sort of washes off everything. You know, it's a kind of like a baptism almost. And then you get out there and just to be immersed in the ocean, away from land, and the idea that you're riding this wave that's traveled all this distance. And so there's part of it, I guess the solitude of that, all of that, and the healing of all of that. And then there's also the side of the people you go with and the people you meet and the people who get it. It puts things in perspective, right? And you suddenly realize what matters and what doesn't. So that's a little bit for me.
the surfing and the photography have some relationship?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's, I think what's interesting is I haven't blended those two very much, but the reason that one of the relationship for me is that when you're surfing, you're very present. All you're doing is surfing. You're not like checking your phone. You're just there. And in photography as well, for me, I found it get really good. You have to drop into photography and really just be like all in, and you can't, let's say in surfing, if you're not paying attention, and someone's going to run over you, or you're going to get hit by a wave, or you're going to hit a rock, or who knows what. So you're required to just be present. And if something goes wrong, you kind of have to be calm. You're like, okay, I'm getting tossed or pitched or thrown. And then, okay, now I'm going to try to paddle out really hard. So there's a mixture of fighting in surfing and flow. And photography is a lot like that. I think creativity is a lot like that. There's seasons where you just fight, which is maybe like paddling out through big pounding waves. You're trying to get out. And then there's other times where it's really calm. Wave comes right to you, you catch it, and there's just this glide and this flow and this experience. And what I've learned is to try to embrace both of those. I think some people think it should always be just easy photography. Some people think it should always be hard. And I've realized, no, it's this ebb and flow, and it's always different. Like surfing, there's no two waves alike. So I've photographed people, same person multiple times. It's always different. And two photographers side by side, if you and I took a photo of someone, they would be different, because it's just 100% unique. And so I love that about
it's amazing.
And do you resonate with that? Does that make sense?
The photography in my life, with the surf, because I'm a young guy, watch a lot of videos, Chirs later, 91, 92. I'm started. I have 9 years old, and I watch a lot of video, like I don't say cassette.
Yes. Oh, VHS. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
VHS. and I see a lot surf videos, and when I get the university, I study photography, and because when I started, it's a film, it's not digital.
Yes.
22 years ago, and
me too.
when I stood black white studio, red light, my first pictures is a bodyboard guy, friend mine, a bodyboard. And I take the pictures with the film, the negative, the code 3x.
Yes, try.
Remember? Remember, it's very important. It's a really nice. And I photographed a lot. 2 years with only this. Is for 400.
Yes.
Easy. And I take these pictures, right? And then we come to studio, the red light, the radio, the time is like stop it. We come inside like 6 a.m, and when I see the clock, is like 10 p.m. And I went put the paper there, and the chemical, the smile, the chemical,
Yes.
And I see the image is like, In 99, I do this in 99, and what the fuck, man? And I say, hey, I want this for my life. It's for my life. And I take the first picture in my life with the professional camera, surf. And
really?
And I work 3 years only photography, surf, kite surfing. When I live Ceará, it's like the pipeline of kite surf, There's a lot of wind every years. And all the guys in the entire world come to here, and I take a lot of pictures of kite surf, windsurf, bodyboard, and surf. I stay 4 years, and I specialization inside the water.
Yes, love it.
a lot of guys take pictures in the beach. Hey man, I go to inside the water.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love it. It's the most I want to the place I really love to be, man, is photography inside the water. One time in Sunset Beach, I stay 1 month in Hawaii with the guys working there for a t-shirt, surfing surfing wear. And first time in Hawaii, first time in the blue Hawaii, and the big waves, waves. And I go with a bodyboarder and 24/70, and the bodyboarder, I say a guy, Hawaiian guy, they say, hey man, I never see a photographer here. And what the fuck? Don't say that, because inside the water, the waves. Man, this day for I die, man, because I learned more in this day in Hawaii. 1 month there, I already dived like 3 times, 4 times, in Pipeline, in Sunset Beach, in Waimea, and no man, I take pictures outside in the beach. So the photography into my life by the surf, So it's very important for me and my life, the surf in the photography, because I think like you, when you photography, you need to be in this world.
Yes. And you need to find the world that you want to inhabit. Like, because I know you work with a lot of students, and I do too. And the thing I always try to encourage them is to say, like, well, what do you love the most? And then how can you combine that with photography? And if you're shooting stuff that you don't like or you think is uninteresting, then maybe you need to switch it up. So
let's continue, man.
yeah, let's do it.
So when you book, when we see you in book, you're talking about creativity in poetry, right?
Yes.
You say something beautiful in your book, something like this: creativity is not something that only a few are born with. It is an aspect of life that some nurture and others ignore. Creativity is imagination, and imagination is for everyone. Right? I want to talk a little bit more about this.
I mean, well, and maybe we'll add to that, photography. People also ask, is creativity something you're born with? Is photography something you're born with? Or is it something you can learn? And I always say it's something you can learn. So creativity, we're all born with it. We're all born with this creative instinct. We're all born with this idea of making the most with what we have, which is what imagination kind of is. It's like saying, okay, here we are. Something's happening. How do I then solve this or deal with this or process this or move ahead through this? And that photography, I think, in a way, at least for me, teaches me how to become more creative, because I mean, and sort of surfing, right? Because surfing's a very creative sport, because unless you're surfing a wave pool, the wave's different every time. And so you have to say, well, this time I have to do something different than last time, the last moment, the last second, the last, day or whatever. So, I believe that wholeheartedly, that we're all creative, and that what we have to do though is cultivate that creativity. So I think creativity is one of these things that can either like grow really big and strong, or it can die. If it's a plant, you got to water it, you got to feed it. And one of the ways we can feed it is with our cameras. I do think kind of a bummer is that, let's say with these kind of little cameras, some people will just say, oh, it's just my phone, snap, and they won't really be creative. But what I say is like, sure, snap, and then ask yourself, what interested me? Why did that interest me? And then how can I do the work of a photographer, or how can I be creative? So I think creativity is it's that second step, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's not just like react, like, wow, this is beautiful, snap. It's like, wow, this is beautiful, snap.
Okay.
And now let me do a little more. So that's the cultivation of it, you know, and that's imagination, because you're like, well, what else could I do? Oh, I could go lower. I could go higher. I could have the subject move a little bit this way, or I could try that. Or what if I did this? Or, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. Or even more like, what am I learning from this moment? You know, like recently, this was in December, but I was photographing these astronauts at SpaceX and NASA, they're doing this flight, which was really neat.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, right? Yeah. I've never met an astronaut before, and they're flying to space. And hopefully I'm gonna get to go to see the launch and everything. But when you're photographing someone like that, you have at first you take the first picture because you're like, wow, this is an astronaut. You know, this person has been to space and is going again, you know. And then you have to say, okay, wow, and how can I make this better, more interesting? And what can I learn from this? And so, for example, the learning with the astronaut is usually when people are at the top of their field, as a surfer, as a artist, as a lawyer, whatever, they have a really strong ego because the ego keeps them at the top. Okay. But an astronaut, if they have a big ego, they die. Okay. So astronauts are literally the top in their field. There are very, very few of them. And the particular commander I was photographing is one of the best astronauts of all time. You know, all this stuff. Wow. Yeah, but he's very responsible. Yeah, but he's very humble, and his humility keeps him alive. And so the whole point of that, I think that's how you cultivate creativity. Is you say, "Wow," then you say, "What else can I do?" And then you also ask, "How can I grow from this?" And what it made me realize is, oh, I can grow by trying to be really good at what I do, but also trying to be humble. And I want to try to, you know, make sure as I get better, because also I think lack of humility creates or kills creativity, right? Because when we're not humble, we're like, oh, I got this, or this is easy, or whatever. And same thing in surfing. When you're not humble, the ocean humbles you, right, man? Yeah, man. You know, a big wave, and you're like, okay, I get it. You know?
Yeah. But it's really important what you say, because you, before take your click, you ask something for yourself, right?
Yes.
So you need know what you want. Fuck.
Yeah. Know what you want, or if you don't know, ask what is this moment teaching me? And I would say, even if I'm just photographing, you know, I'm just trying to think of something. Let's just say we have to do product photography. We have to photograph this hat, you know? Okay. Yeah. And then we think about, well, this guy, Yater, who made this hat, he's a surfboard shaper. You know, and think about who he is and how he lives, and that I guess that I'm not really coming up with a perfect example of that, but not like realize there's always some hidden message. And maybe like for me with Yater is that he is now late 80s. He's been shaping for, I think, almost 50 years now, 50 something years. And so maybe even though I'm just photographing a dumb hat, I'm thinking there's
I understand you, man.
You understand? Yeah.
Perfect. No, you understand. Perfect, man.
Yeah. It's not about the hat, you know, it's about something much more. Yeah.
Exatamente. Just talking this conversation em português, ok? Pessoal, o que a gente está falando aqui é o que eu sempre falo para vocês, né, rapaziada que acompanha a gente, é o que eu sempre falo, que sempre tem uma história, uma mensagem por trás de qualquer pessoa, ou até mesmo o exemplo que ele deu do chapéu. Porque não é um boné, não é um chapéu, mas é o que ele significa, é a significância dele. Então, a pessoa significa algo, o corpo, né, the body, significa algo. Então, a forma que você fotografa, o olhar, a expressão, tudo significa algo. Então, o Chris falou aqui, você pode perguntar para você o que você quer, porém você pode aprender o que significa o que você está fotografando. Entendeu? Então, é importante saber que tudo significa algo. When I teach, Chris, I talk a lot about Charles Peirce, né, in semiótica, because every I don't know, say, o André chegou aqui, ele vai me ajudar. My friend, hey,
André. Hey.
Chegou o tradutor, cara. Ei, aí, toca aí, André. André, como é que fala signo em inglês?
Sign.
Signos visuais?
Visual signs.
Yeah, because all the photography have all the elements inside of photography is a visual segments. Significa algo, né? Significa algo, Chris. Então, galera, o que a gente está falando aqui é justamente isso, que tudo na tua fotografia significa algo. Mas antes, vamos apresentar o André, hein, galera? Vamos apresentar o André. André, salve, salve. O André está falando do Canadá. De onde é que tu está falando aí, André? Fala aí.
Quer que eu fale em português, inglês?
Fala em português mesmo, depois tu vai traduzir aí.
Eu estou falando aqui direto de Halifax. É uma cidade da Nova Escócia, que fica no leste canadense. É uma cidade costeira também. Aqui também tem surf, aqui também tem praia. E é isso. Mas não agora, que tem inverno no verão.
Fala pro Chris agora, em inglês.
Hey. So, Chris, I'm talking here from Halifax. I'm studying here. And this is also a city that has surf, but not right now because we're in the winter. So in summer, there will be a lot of surfers here, and that's pretty much it. And I'm here to help. I'm here to help Marcus translating something. And if you want to say something and Marcus can understand, I can also translate to Portuguese. That's pretty much it.
André worked with me, Chris, in my school, Travessa, for long years, and he's a really good guy, man. I love this fucking guy. He's like a young brother, you know. It's like a young brother, you know. And I really appreciate André here for help us. And Canadá, USA, Brasil. E aí, galera, aí é o seguinte, Chris. So I make the question in português and André inglês.
Translating to English.
Ok. So, vamos continuar. Então, vou falar essa pergunta aqui, ó. Chris, por que então você acha, a gente está falando de criatividade e de poesia narrativa na imagem? Por que você acha que são poucos os fotógrafos que conseguem essa sensibilidade? Por que você acha que poucos fotógrafos conseguem passar sentimento para suas fotografias?
Ok. Repete só o começo, Marquinhos.
A gente está falando de criatividade e sensibilidade. Por que você acha que poucos fotógrafos têm essa sensibilidade e poucos conseguem passar esse sentimento para a sua fotografia?
We're talking about creativity and sensibility, and Marcus is asking, why do you think most photographers can't translate this into an image, into photograph?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I find I'll speak for myself, is it's when we when we think that the photograph is the end of the process. And so what I mean by that is, let's just compare this to cooking. Someone bakes something amazing, cookie or something. And they're like, wow, a cookie. And they forget to eat it. And so, a lot of people, a lot of my students and stuff, they'll get a great picture and I'm like, yeah, it's a great picture. So what? And then they're like, what do you mean? And I say, well, so what? You know, and they're like, well, it's great. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. You know, and what does it mean to you? What is it, you know, or how does it affect you? What's the intent? What's the purpose? What's the idea? You know, and so really like learning how to come, like, you know, realize that the art and craft of any sort of art and craft is about, like you were saying earlier, it's about how it affects us inside. And we're not just making pictures to make pictures. And I think that's kind of one of the big things for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's translatable, but
Pessoal, só aqui mais ou menos explicando o que o Chris fala, né? Que também é algo que a gente fala muito aqui nas nossas aulas. A fotografia, ela não começa na câmera. Ela não começa na câmera. Ela começa antes, no ser. E ela não acaba na foto. Ela não acaba na foto. Porque tem a significância do que está ali. Então, entender, galera, que a fotografia, ela não é a fração de um segundo. Ela é eterna. Ela dura para sempre. Porque se daqui a 10 anos, 20 anos, a gente vê essa imagem, a gente tem uma outra significância. Então, não pense que a fotografia começa na hora de fotografar. A fotografia, ela começa no seu o processo criativo, né? The creative process. Isso, né? Começa bem antes. Bem antes. Isso é importante vocês falar. Ela não começa na hora do clique e não termina na hora de você ver a imagem. É muito importante. Por isso que ela é linguagem. Por isso que ela é comunicação, a fotografia. Isso é importante vocês entenderem. É muito importante vocês lerem o livro do Chris Orwig. É muito importante. A gente vai ter essa conversa aqui de 1 hora, mas o livro vai ficar na sua cabeça pro resto da vida. Pro resto da vida. It's really nice, this example. Use the cookie. I stole it for you, man. Hey, man, sorry. I used to.
No, I love it. I love it. It's
bacana. Great. Então, the next question, tá?
Yeah.
Eu botei até no teu WhatsApp, tá, André? Pergunta aí. Tá. Beleza? Então, aqui, ó. No livro do Chris, a Poesia Visual, ele fala, né, sobre um sentimento. In the beginning of your book, Visual Poetry, you say a lot important things. Ele fala da questão de um fogo que tem que surgir dentro, né? Do sentimento que parte dentro da gente para a nossa imagem, beleza? Então, eu vou voltar a perguntar para você, né? Como nós podemos nutrir, como nós podemos alimentar esse sentimento que parte daqui? Entendeu, André? Ele fala pro Chris.
André.
Ok. Tu quer que eu leia esse textinho?
Não, mas não, na tua interpretação.
Só pergunta.
Isso,
So, how can we
nurture,
feed? How do we feed this feeling? How do we feed this? Where does the creativity in this feeling come from? That's basically the question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And one of the things I love about poetry is that everything is a good subject matter. And so, in other words, you could write a poem. You could write a poem about this little, let me just grab something, by this little plant. We could write a poem. We could write a poem about this little clock that you could write a poem about anything. And the poets of the world know that. And they know that the more ordinary the subject, often the more interesting the poem. So it rains everywhere, but if you write a poem like Walt Whitman's poem about the voice of the rain or something. And so I think how we feed that is, as photographers, we step away from thinking that things are only interesting if they look cool. And we say things are interesting because of the story behind them, or because of what they are, because of how they communicate to us. And really sort of listening and looking for that all of a sudden ignites a creativity, versus saying, I need a beautiful model. I need a pretty sunset. I need a surfer doing a big turn. I need something photogenic, but rather saying, no, it has nothing to do with that. And then once we start approaching the world that way, suddenly we say, oh my gosh, you know, this pencil is so interesting, or whatever it is, you know, and that ignites something within. So that at least is what I've found, you know, is keeping that poetic mindset of the value and interest isn't just based on the external appearance of something, and that even things that are unphotogenic, let's just say, I'm going to flip it a little bit. I photographed this one guy who was really angry, and you could see all the anger in his face. So just etched into his face, you know, there's so much anger. And I never shared that picture. I didn't like that picture. I didn't really like him. But the takeaway for me was, wow, if you live an angry life for years and years, it shows up on your face. And then it made me realize, you know, I have some anger in my heart that I haven't resolved yet. I want to deal with that. And so even though the picture didn't turn out, the point of the picture did. Does that make sense? So it's that openness to all situations, photogenic, non-photogenic, beautiful, ugly, big, small, colorful, uncolorful, whatever it is, and looking for that. So that's kind of a long answer, but does that make sense at all?
Yeah. So, pessoal,
how would you translate that?
Pessoal, o seguinte, tá? Mais ou menos, né, pegando o que o Chris fala aqui e também o que eu li do livro do Chris, essa questão de você nutrir isso parte muito do que você vive. Se você quer ter a sua fotografia, esse sentimento expressado na tua fotografia, tu tem que viver isso, tu tem que olhar a chuva, tu tem que olhar o lápis, tu tem que olhar e ver além, ver o que significa. Então, você realmente tem que viver isso. Por isso que a gente fala do ser para se tornar. Do ser para... Quando você vive uma vida criativa, você leva isso para a sua fotografia. Não adianta você ficar em casa, Netflix, e não viver a vida. Não olhar as coisas, não sentir na pele. Você tem que sentir na pele. Se você não sentir aqui, não vai passar para a câmera. Eu sempre falo, você primeiro precisa ser tocado para depois tocar. Se você não é tocado, você não consegue tocar. Do you understand, Chris?
A little bit.
Fala aí.
Marcus is telling us that we need to live. We need to live, and we need to be touched to touch. You know, we need to live to translate that into image, into experiences, and that's it.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
And have something in your book, Chris. Também, I really like it when you say more with less.
Yes.
It's amazing, this form you think, you know, more with less, because I believe in this. So I want to talk about this. What do you mean more with less in photography?
Yeah. I think the art that impacts me the most is often has a quiet voice. It's not screaming for my attention. And I would even say, like, I'm just going to go to surfing because we're surfers. My favorite surfers aren't the ones saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. And so I think sometimes we fill our frames up with too much noise, and we're saying in our frame, look at this, look at all this kind of stuff, you know, and then there's so much they're saying, and they're trying to say all this stuff so fast and so much, and everywhere it kind of says nothing at all. But then those few rare moments where you take a picture, like you said, where it's much less, that all of a sudden it gives a viewer space to engage, to think, to reflect, to connect, you know, and all that. And so the real art is probably what we don't include in the frame.
Yeah.
Because
yes.
because it's so easy to get greedy with the camera, because what I mean, you know, we're like, that, yes, that, yes, yeah, that. And it's, you know, maybe back to the cookies. I mean, here in the States, you know, let's say chocolate chip cookies, something my mom used to make me. It has like 5 ingredients in it. And that's what made them good when I was a little kid. If she had put 50 ingredients in it, they wouldn't have been very good. And so again, just having that ability of limit and ability to, I mean, it's humility too. Humility to say, I'm going to do less, I guess, you know, like, let me just try to think of an example. Because we're kind of in the surf world. It's like, let's, you know, first time I photographed Kelly Slater, I was really excited.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. I'm like, oh my gosh. And he had said something to me. He said, Chris, I'm embarrassed to admit that for a lot of my life, I confused the idea of Kelly Slater with the person of Kelly Slater. So we're talking about identity. Who are we really, you know? And so then taking that picture, I could take the picture of the hero and amazing and this, you know, world champion, all that fanfare, or I could say, no, I'm going to risk to do something simple. And the risk is you could fail, because simple can easily become uninteresting. You know, like one line of a poem, if it's not really, really good line, who cares, you know? And same thing with photography. If, you know, but if I made him look like a hero and did all this great stuff and great light and whatever, yeah, it could be a good picture, but maybe never a great picture. So anyway, I think part of that is, as photographers, having the guts to be simple.
These pictures of Kelly Slater, no?
Yeah, that's it on the right. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that was with film too, but yeah. And to, you know, just simplify it and you know, just me and him and no assistants and no setup and no nothing, you know,
only sensibility, creativity.
Yes, exactly. And seeing past the surface. Because here's the thing too, I mean, with people, maybe all of us listening, what I found with my students is the more handsome and beautiful, sexy, whatever the person, the worse the photograph. Because the student would think, or I should say, the more beautiful the landscape, the worse the photograph. The more, you know, handsome the guy, the more beautiful the woman, whatever, the worse the photograph. Because the amateur photographer thinks that beauty or that strength or whatever it is enough. And that's going to carry the picture. But like we've been saying, that doesn't. You have to carry the picture. You have to create it from within. You have to look past all the surface. And if the surface is really, really exciting, it's hard to look past that.
Yeah.
And if you're nervous, it's hard to look past that.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of that simplicity thing of being like, okay, you know what? Yeah, sure. This person has done all these great things, but they're also a human, and they also have fears and hopes and dreams. And you know what? They're just like me.
Yeah.
And we're all, you know, the humanity in all of us is something. When I'm photographing people, I'm thinking about. I want to look so deeply into someone else that I see myself, no matter their age, their gender, their race, where their country they're from, whatever. And so, and that requires, that's really simplifying it, you know, versus not. But if you can simplify it, keep going down, I think that's where the soul lives. And that's where great photos are made, whether it's a landscape or a portrait or a product photograph, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of a long answer, but
yeah, it's really nice. I want to ask you about your portraits, you know, your metodologia, André. Como é que é metodologia?
Methodology.
how you do your approach, you know, but
we can do.
Só falar em português aqui o que tu falou, tá, Chris? Ó, galera, esse cara aqui, esse carequinha aqui, ó, Esse cara aqui, ele é o ET do surf, né? Todo mundo conhece o Chirs Orwig. O cara é assim, não tem o que falar dele. Ele é foda. O cara é foda. E ele é muito importante dentro da história do surf mundial. Ele é o surfista ET. O cara... You see, yesterday, Chris, 3 seconds, Chirs Orwig,
man, I saw that. That was amazing. That was...
Whoa, 3 seconds. Only Chirs Orwig can do this, man.
Yeah. But the thing with that is, I think, like, now we know Kelly Slater better, but back when I took this picture, there wasn't as much social media and, and interviews and all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, he's very humble. And if you watch him catch that wave in the last three, it's one of the best moments in surfing history, right?
Yeah.
When he comes out of the wave, he kind of has his hands down to his side and he's excited, but he's not like, look at me, I'm the best in the world. He's very humble. And when he talks about it afterwards, if you watch those interviews, he's grateful. And I saw that in him, or I should say, or what you try to do as a photographer is see that side of the person, not just the hero, not just the greatest of all time, because the hero is hard to relate to. But the man who's grateful and humble, you can relate to that. We're all grateful, and it's not like he's, he's very human, I guess. And so anyway, just the humanity of even like, I think the best photographs of him are the ones that show his humanity. Of course, he's superhuman. We know that, like he's so.
But I have a soul, a normal soul inside.
Yeah, but like maybe here's one thing. Like right before I photographed this, he was in the Shaping Bay.
How the year you take this photograph? The year?
The year, well, this was when he was still with Channel Islands. This was before Outer Known. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how many years ago, a handful of years ago.
Okay.
And he's in the Shaping Bay and he's cutting a piece of wood.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of like, is he making a wooden surfboard? Or like, what's he doing? And I was like, hey, Kelly, what's up? What are you making? He's like, oh man, I've had this place in Santa Barbara, which is where I live, for a couple years. And I don't even have like a stand for my bed. Like my bed's just on the floor. And he said it in a way that it was a tinge of sadness, and then it kind of got this idea that a lot of these guys, they live everywhere but nowhere. They travel so much around the world and they have friendships and relationships all over, but that's a really hard life too. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, who wouldn't want to travel the whole world? But then you dig deeper into it and you're like, yeah, it's hard to maintain relationships. It's hard to be on tour and travel all these places. And so anyway, it's just that slight bit of empathy and like understanding. And if you can bring that to photographing someone, whether it's your dad, your brother, your, I don't know, a rock star, who cares? Then I think that can fill up your frames with something more, if that makes sense. More than just like, wow, great tree, great person, great house, great food, or whatever you're photographing. You're like, oh yeah, that's great, but there's something more.
Yeah, man. It's nice. Pessoal, não sei se vocês entenderam, hein, galera? Vocês entenderam, mas é o que o Chris fala, que por mais que ele seja um super-herói, né, que seja um famoso, um cara gigante, né, ele também tem algo embaixo disso tudo, né, dessa imagem toda, né, André? Explica um pouquinho mais aí, André, o que ele falou.
Ele falou bastante que o Kelly Slater, né, apesar de ele ser quem ele é, né, que é o cara do surf, como o Marquinhos falou aí, que ele é a maior referência, né, do surf. Ele é um cara muito humilde, ele é um cara muito grato. Então ele até relata que quando ele saiu da prova, ele saiu em vez de sair apontando para ele, chamando a atenção para ele, que não é isso que ele fez, né? Ele estava com as mãos do lado dele e ele seguiu grato, ele seguiu muito humilde. Então ele está falando sobre isso, que ele é uma pessoa, apesar da representação mundial do surf e tal, ele é um cara muito humilde e muito grato.
Igual a você, Chris. Você também é muito humilde e muito grato, man, por estar aqui com a gente. André, pergunta para o Chris assim agora. Chris, qual a sua metodologia? Você vai fazer o retrato de alguém, né? Alguém te contratou para você fazer um retrato de alguém. Quando começa essa foto? O teu processo criativo começa quando? Como é a tua metodologia quando você vai retratar alguém? E o que você acha mais importante para uma fotografia de retrato? Entendeu, André?
So, Chris, this is like 3 questions in just one, but basically what Marcus is asking us, it's how do you start your approach when you're going to photograph someone, when you are hired to photograph someone? When do you start your approach? How
processo criativo dele?
How do you do your creative process, and what do you think it's the most important thing during this whole process? When do you start? How do you start? How is your process? And what is the most important thing?
Na fotografia de retrato.
In portrait photography.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a author, an English author, John Steinbeck, who describes one of his characters, Doc Ricketts, from this book called Cannery Row, who says he's at ease with himself and it puts him at ease with the world. And so I think the first step is to work on yourself. Like that's before anything else. Because the energy you bring, if I'm nervous, and let's say I'm photographing, like I'm hired to photograph Marcos, and I'm all nervous, and or maybe I'm upset, and I'm stressed. You know, he's going to pick up on that, and that's going to potentially ruin the photograph. But if I'm like, okay, I'm grounded, I'm centered, I become aware of what I'm worried about. I'm aware of what I'm excited about. And I'd say the same thing in surfing too. You know, sometimes you have to like be aware you're really stressed out or something, and, you know, and just like take a breath. So, so anyway, step 1 for me, and then maybe I'll answer step 2 and 3, but is go inward, self-awareness, and become at ease with the process, with yourself. And I think someone in the comments here said it really well. It's just saying that a teacher says we can get nervously excited, and then that makes us lose our attention. And so just saying like, okay, and if I'm nervous, which I always am nervous, I just say, you know what, I'm nervous, and I'm aware of that. And I maybe even say that to the person I'm photographing, because it's very different if I say, and I've said this to, like, you know, you're one of my life heroes, and I'm really nervous to photograph you. And they'll say, oh, you know, don't worry, we got this. But if I just say, try to shoot and I'm all nervous, then they're kind of like, what's this guy's problem?
Okay.
I'm nervous because you're nervous, because energy is picked up. It's translated. The same way I think it is between animals and humans. You know, if you see a dog that's growling, you're kind of like, whoa. Or if you see, you know, a puppy that's really playful, you're like, oh, cute, you know. And so the signs and the energy that we give off really sets the foundation. So step 1 is yourself. So maybe, I don't know if that's worth translating, but I can get to step 2 and 3.
Yeah, okay. Ele quer que eu transmita isso aí. Você quer falar?
Não, fala aí, André.
Pronto. Basicamente, o que ele fala, né? O primeiro passo é você estar ciente de si, você estar consciente daquilo, do que você está passando, e por mais que você esteja nervoso, ele até cita, né? Você pode até dizer para a pessoa que você está nervoso, você é um grande herói da minha vida, você é um grande ídolo, mas eu estou dentro de mim, eu estou consciente, e está grounded, né? Está com os pés no chão, está firme.
Okay.
E é isso.
E o segundo passo e o terceiro passo?
what about the second step and the third step?
Yeah. Let me just grab a camera. So the second and the third step, also I should say too, because I just want to bring a camera. A lot of my students, what they'll do is when they're nervous, they have their camera here, and because they're nervous, they look at the back of the camera like something bad just happened. And then the subject thinks they did something bad. But if I'm not nervous, and maybe I do the same thing, I take a picture and I see the back of the camera, I just go, oh man, I just made a mistake. Hang on one second. I fix something. Then the subject, they kind of laugh with me. And I say, you're looking great. I just did something. And wait, stand just like that. Perfect. Take a breath, and anyway. So anyway, the step one is of course starting here, but then bringing that into the shoot. So it's not step two, but I just wanted to add that it's not just about getting grounded. It's also about bringing that into the moment when you have the camera. So,
okay.
Yeah.
It's nice. E o passo 3? Fala primeiro. Não, André, traduz aí o passo 2, né?
Ele fala do passo 1, você está ciente de si, e o passo 2, por mais que você vai fotografar, se você fotografar alguma coisa, e você, por acaso, ele até cita o exemplo dos alunos dele, por acaso você cometeu algum erro, então você não fazer essa cara de nervoso, okay, de que errou alguma coisa, mas você pode fazer uma brincadeira, cara, você tá lindo, mas eu cometi aqui um erro e tal, você faz uma brincadeira para descontrair, para o clima entre você e a pessoa que você está fotografando ficar mais tranquilo, e é isso, esse é o passo 2.
The body language is too important, Chris, right?
Yeah.
No, your body, you have
body
to...
language, everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. And that comes from, that's deep within. And so you have to start within and then bring that forward, right? And that controls it. And even matching the rhythm. So like when I did that photograph of Kelly, he was actually kind of in a tough place. He had a back injury. He wasn't sure if he was going to keep competing. And so he was moving very slowly. And so when I was photographing him, I was moving very slowly. Okay. Even though inside I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Kelly Slater. But my body language had to mirror his body language. Okay. We had to get in the same rhythm. And so that's really important to kind of tune yourself to the subject. So that gets to the second step, which I think is becoming aware of the other and where they're at. So first yourself, second the other. And what I mean by that is it's much more fun to photograph someone than to be photographed. When you're photographed, it's kind of painful. And you have to remember that. And you also have to remember you have no idea what just happened to that person. So we'll just go with this Kelly Slater thing. Let's go to someone else. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but
okay.
I'm photographing Marcos. Let's say I fly all the way to Brazil. I'm so excited to finally get to hang out with him. He has all these rad tattoos, this cool look. He's like such a cool guy. I'm like, this is so amazing. It's going to create this cool dynamic photo. I'm so excited. This is going to be amazing. We're going to jam and everything. And then I get there and I'm bringing all this exciting energy and I can tell something's wrong. And I discover that his dog just died, I'm like, and if I just keep being all excited, no photograph, right? It's not going to work. But if I stop and I pay attuned to where they're coming from, then we get in sync. So it's like start with yourself, then okay. Second, get in sync with the subject. And I would say the same thing for a tree. I know this sounds weird, but for a dog, for, you're like, I'm feeling this, but then you're there and you have the sense of awe and you got to kind of like go, how do I get in sync with what's happening? Like you were saying, I love how you said, when we're sensitive inside, our eyes open more. So how can I be more open and not just oblivious to what's happening? Not just be me, but be us, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's part 2 for me.
Fala aí, André.
Beleza. Na verdade, eu tinha falado parte 2 na fala passada, mas agora é a parte 2, de verdade. Que a primeira parte é você estar ciente de si, consciente, e a segunda parte é estar ciente do outro e em sincronia com o outro. O que o Chris trouxe aqui foi que ele até dá o exemplo do Marcos. Eu vou voar para o Brasil, eu vou curtir com o Marcos e etc e tal, e se por exemplo, o cachorro do Marcos faleceu, o cachorro do Marcos morreu. Como é que eu entro em sincronia? Como é que eu sintonizo essa energia com ele, né? A fotografia não vai acontecer, mesmo que eu estivesse muito animado, a fotografia não vai acontecer naquele momento, porque a energia do Marcos está outra. Então, como é que eu faço para sincronizar com a energia dele, para que aquele momento, em seguida, possa acontecer? Então, primeiro passo, você sente você. Segundo passo, você está ciente e em sintonia, em sincronia com o outro.
Legal. Amazing, Chris. Amazing.
Okay.
Uma coisa, André, tu vai traduzir para ele, tá, pessoal? Quando eu ensino um retrato, eu falo muito do que o Chris falou aí, dessa sinergia, tá? Na programação neurolinguística, no PNL, existem técnicas para você conseguir encontrar o que se chama de rapport. Rapport é quando você sincroniza a respiração, você faz um espelhamento corporal, certo? E você trabalha com o peito virado para a pessoa, os pés virados para a pessoa. Então, dentro da programação neurolinguística, do PNL, você pode aprender técnicas para conseguir isso. Não necessariamente precisa ser feeling. Você pode estudar essas questões para conseguir aplicar isso nas suas direções. Porque dirigir alguém, você tem que ter essa aceitação, essa sinergia, né, para você conseguir. Mas, quanto mais capacidade dentro da comunicação persuasiva, melhor. I don't know if you know the book, Chris, Como Convencer Alguém em 90 Segundos, André, do Nicholas Bofman.
Just a second. Deixa eu ver como é o nome do em inglês.
Nicholas Bofman, New York photography, write a book.
Okay, I found it. Marcus is asking if you know the book, How to Convince Them in 90 Seconds, from Nicholas Bofman. I think that's the name.
I don't know that one. I don't know that.
This book is like 18s. I don't know. It's an old book. And this guy, photographer New York, ensina muitas técnicas para você ter essa sinergia, né? Assim, para não ser muito no feeling, because you just don't feel, you know? And escuta. E uma coisa que eu falo também, Chris, depois tu vai traduzir para ele, tá, André? É a comunicação. Eu sinto que a comunicação, o que acontece? Quando alguém vem, o fotógrafo, ele fala, né? Oi, olá, beautiful, you're so beautiful. É so beautiful. Aí quando bota a câmera aqui, ó, fica assim, ó. E the guy, So, eu sempre digo, se você se comunica com o olho, comunica com o olho. Quando você tira o olho, você tem que aumentar a comunicação verbal. Porque a pessoa lá, quando perde o contato visual, ela fica um pouco perdida. Então, você tem que manter a comunicação pela fala e aumentar um pouquinho, né? Para conseguir isso. Você acha que é isso mesmo?
Okay. Did you understand, Chris?
I understood a lot of that, yes.
Okay.
Então é isso, tá, galera? Mas você concorda? Pergunta para ele. Você concorda?
Do you agree with Marcus? He's like
completely. Yeah. Keep going, but say a little more about it.
Okay, so he was talking that one thing that he always say during his classes and on Instagram that is you need to keep talking to the subject. You need to keep talking to the person you're photographing, because once you get your camera and you put your camera on your eye, you can't stop. You can't stop talking. Because otherwise, because you lose visual contact, and you need to keep talking. So you keep this connection between you and the subject you're photographing. And he's asking if you agree with that.
Yeah, and couldn't agree more. And that's how I understood that too. And that would be the step 3. You know, the way I say that is ask questions and then actively listen. So that's the step 3 for me, which means, like you were saying, you can't just ask and block your face with the camera, but you ask, you know, like if I was photographing Marco over here, I would say, well, tell me about your tattoo. And then he would tell me, I'd be like, wait, well, hold that for a second, take a picture. And then say, well, okay, keep going. And so, yeah, just maintaining that real connection versus making it a performance where they're just kind of doing whatever they're doing and you're doing whatever you're doing. So I 100% agree with that, maintaining that connection. And with that being said, you know, so that would be, you know, the step 3. And then step 4 for me is getting them to move and breathe and look away. And so what I mean by that is, if you point a camera at someone, you know, and you have the camera there, often the subject thinks they have to stare back, and they're just staring and staring and staring, and their eyes get a little glassy and whatnot. So what I would say, look away and then look back, and then look back. That's the moment. Or I say, close your eyes, take a breath, and then they look back, and then that's the moment. And so obviously I'm talking, I'm listening, but I'm getting them to move. We carry a lot of tension in our bodies. So if they're holding tension, I'll just say, hey, well, what if you lean against something? You know, sit like that, you know, and that helps them release the tension versus say, I don't say release the tension. I do say move, breathe, look away, look back, you know, and making all that happen. So that's really that next part for me.
So how do you summarize the step 3? Like, in a sentence, how would you summarize that? So I can translate this to the audience.
Yeah, well, I think step 3 is what Marco said, which is maintain connection. And then step 4 is the one which is, well, I mean, it's, every portrait I've ever taken, I ask someone to take a breath. I always ask them to close their eyes, and I always ask them to move. So I would say breathe, eye contact, and movement. And reason is if we stare too much, it's not very good. So I want to break that cycle, because even us right now, like Marcos is looking away, we're all looking kind of different ways. And that's natural. It's unnatural to just stare. So I don't want them to think they need to stare. I don't want a glassy, empty stare. I want something full. And so that would be the step 4. So step 3 is what Marco said. Step 4 is that.
Nice.
Fala, André.
Show. Ele fala que o passo 3 é justamente o que a gente estava comentando aqui, né? Que o Marquinhos falou, que é manter essa conexão, né? Manter essa conexão entre o fotógrafo e o objeto, né? A pessoa, o sujeito. E ele cita que o passo 4, né? Que são 3 coisas dentro desse passo 4 que ele costuma fazer para quebrar um pouco dessa tensão, quebrar um pouco de, às vezes, de você estar muito travado o olhar. Ele pede para a pessoa fechar os olhos, ele pede para a pessoa se mover e pede para a pessoa respirar. Então, isso acaba dando uma relaxada melhor durante esse processo. Então, olha para o outro lado, fecha os olhos, respira, para dar uma quebrada um pouco, às vezes uma tensão que pode acontecer, né, entre o fotógrafo e o objeto.
E ele também fala, né, que ele fotografa no momento entre, né,
Isso,
que o cara
exatamente.
olha para trás, que olha para frente, às vezes
Aquele é o momento.
Naquele segundo, né, entre frames, né, entre frames. Isso é muito legal, muito legal. Chris, que bacana. A gente vai ver se alguém aqui quer perguntar, tá? Alguém da audiência. Se alguém tem alguma pergunta, galera, se vocês quiserem perguntar, perguntem agora pro Chris, para não pegar o dia inteiro dele, né, galera? Então, tem alguma pergunta aqui na audiência?
Se precisar, Marquinhos, eu também estou com o chat aberto, eu posso dar uma olhada também. Ficar atento aqui, mas até então não.
Não, né? Fala pro Chris aí que a gente está vendo se alguém tem alguma pergunta.
So Chris, we don't want to like.
Se tu quiser perguntar alguma coisa, viu, André? Pergunta também, rapaz.
Tranquilo. we don't want to take too much time of your day, but we're just asking the audience if they want to ask something specific to you. So we're just waiting a little bit to check the chat. That's why I'm looking up, because I have another screen here, and that's basically this. And we're just waiting for questions a little bit, and yeah, it's pretty much it.
And maybe, and if questions come, great. If not, no biggie. But the other thing I would add to the process is ending well of the shoot. And the same thing that if, let's say I invited you guys over for dinner, I would welcome you in, we would talk, we would move, we would eat, you know, and then I would walk you out to your car. And I think you know, you want to maintain that connection even when the photo shoot's over. And I'll see a lot of my students, it's almost like they make their guests, I'm kind of comparing it to having guests over to your house. They make their guests walk themselves out. And I'm like, look, you can't do that. You need to like carry, if they came, like help them carry stuff, get it in their car, thank them. You know, often if I'm photographing a celebrity or someone famous and it isn't for a job, or just someone I admire, I have a gift for them. And I give them that gift at the end of the shoot, a thank you card, a book, an object. And that's ready before the shoot. Like I don't send that next week. It's there at that moment. So I want it, like, I mean, the way to maybe distill that is just end well. You want to end the shoot well.
Nice. Perfect. Uma coisa que ele está falando aqui é que seria também, assim, para finalizar esse processo dele, é justamente terminar bem, né? Como terminar bem. Então, uma coisa que ele citou, que às vezes os alunos dele não terminam o processo bem, ele faz essa comparação da pessoa que ele está fotografando com, às vezes, uma visita. Então, você tem que receber a visita, você tem que abrir a porta para a visita. Se a visita tiver uma coisa, você vai carregar as coisas da visita. E a mesma coisa quando estiver acabando, que você vai abrir a porta para a visita, você vai levar a visita até o carro dela, vai conversar. E uma coisa que ele geralmente faz quando está fotografando alguém é dar um presente, seja um cartão de agradecimento, seja um livro, seja um objeto, alguma coisa assim específica. Então, ele costuma fazer isso, né, dar essa lembrança naquele momento. Ele não posta, ele não manda na outra semana, ele não manda depois de 2 semanas. É naquele momento em que ele está terminando o processo que ele agradece, né? Então ele faz terminar bem. E, enfim, basicamente isso.
Chris, na neurolinguística diz que as pessoas nunca vão lembrar do que você fala, mas sim de como você fez elas sentirem. Traduz aí, André.
Tu pode repetir, Marquinhos, que eu estava lendo a pergunta aqui.
No PNL, né, se diz, na ciência da programação linguística, se diz que as pessoas não lembram do que você fala, mas de como você fez elas sentirem. Por isso que quando você fala isso de tratar bem do começo até o final, você está trabalhando realmente a percepção dela sobre o teu trabalho, sobre a tua pessoa, fazendo com que elas se sintam bem do teu lado. E isso é fundamental.
So one thing that Marcus is talking about right now is that in neurolinguistic programming, I don't know if this is a term in English, but in neurolinguistic programming, they usually say that people don't remember what you say, but people remember how do you treated them. So how do you connect with them? How do you deal with them? And that's how people remember you. That's not about what you're talking about, and it's more about how do you treated them.
Yes. I couldn't. Yeah, go ahead. Go, Marcus. Go, Marcus.
Por isso que what you say is so important, because the people don't care with you talk about, but how you make this guy, these people feel like by your side, your side.
Yes.
You know, because for this, I believe in the love. For this, I believe you have to love everything.
Yes, love and kindness, and even you know, a lot of people ask about posing or different things. And you can direct someone and say, turn your shoulders 5 different ways. You could say, turn your shoulders, or you could say, will you please turn your shoulders? Or you could say, hey, you know, this looks so cool. I think if you turn your shoulders like this, it would look even better. And you just the slight intonation or the slight change and that feeling that you're putting into every word you say matters. If it's a CEO of a company and they're really exact and they just want you to get this thing over with, maybe you say, okay, here's the deal. I want you to stand this way and then turn your shoulders, go like that. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, nail it. And so it's not that there's one way to do it, but it goes back to that earlier step that you're in sync with the person. Because to one person, the CEO, it's the kindest thing you can do is be very exact, very clear, because they're really busy. Maybe to the person that's really nervous, you need to slow down and you need to encourage them a little bit more, and you need to be kind. If you're, let's say, I'm making this up, but the CEO that's like really rigid and really busy, if you're like too kind and slow and they're like, oh my gosh, like this guy is killing me. So it's all about infusing what you're saying, not just like how you're saying it, with kindness, with love. And that love is specific and different to every single person. And so that's where you have to begin with your own self-understanding, 2, pick up on their energy, their vibe, their whatever. And then 3, start to get them to move, to breathe, to connect, and all those things. And realize there's going to be a rhythm in the shoot. Like some people are nervous in the beginning, some people are excited, some people are scared, whatever that is. And just kind of find that rhythm. Going back to surfing a little bit, there's a rhythm to a swell as well. Like sometimes there's swells that are just really angry and big and tumultuous. And sometimes there's swells that are just slow and lilting. And occasionally, I don't know about you, Marcos, but you'll see a guy or girl photograph or surfing a wave that's really kind of mellow, and they're just trying to like slash it to pieces. And you're like, that's not the right way to surf that wave. And so but then the best surfers, like that Kelly Slater moment, they understand the wave so well, they blend together, like 2 become 1. It's not just that he got a barrel, but it's like the feeling of him getting that barrel in that moment was, we all felt something. And so that, again, I think in the art of portraiture, it's the same thing, right? It's that same. And I don't know how you're going to translate that.
No worries.
Maybe you guys can pick up something. Pessoal, o que o Chris fala aí é o que se fala também na programação neurolinguística, tá? Por quê? Dentro da programação neurolinguística existe uma teoria que é o 58-24-7, que a mensagem é recebida pela pessoa através das palavras, 7% dentro da interpretação da mensagem, através do perfil vocal, do tom vocal. Por isso que o Chris fala que depende da forma que você fala. Ele deu o exemplo de mostrar o ombro, né? Você mostra o ombro. Mostra o ombro.
O CEO.
Que você... Oi?
Quando vai tratar com o CEO, por exemplo, né?
Exato.
Às vezes precisa de um pouco mais de agilidade.
Exatamente. Então, você tem que se adequar. Ele fala também do exemplo do Chirs Orwig, que você tem que sentir a onda e se tornar um só. Então, você tem que fazer isso com o seu retratado. Você tem que ler a linguagem corporal da pessoa, entender o que ela está passando e falar como ela quer escutar. Então, a partir do seu perfil vocal, da forma que você fala, você consegue ser mais receptivo pela pessoa ou não. Então, isso está dentro da parte das teorias de comunicação persuasiva. Então, vale muito a pena estudar a comunicação persuasiva. Esse livro que eu falei, Como Convencer Alguém em 90 Segundos, é incrível. Você vai aprender muito, mas existe também outros, né? Como o corpo fala, a linguagem secreta do corpo, onde você vai entender essa forma de se comunicar. Isso é muito bacana o que o Chris falou, isso é fundamental, você saber se comunicar, a forma que você fala, e principalmente o corpo, o body, é muito importante você saber se portar, porque até o aperto de mão, você pode mudar tudo com um aperto de mão. Então, isso é fotografia também, a fotografia faz parte disso. Legal demais, Chris, legal demais. Tem uma pergunta aqui, não tem, André, do Gustavo?
Tem duas. Chris, we have a couple of questions. There's this guy, it's Gustavo, his name.
Yeah.
He has two questions. What is the best part of photographing people? And the second one, it's how do you deal with a bad day? And how do you deal not to translate this into the person you're photographing? How do you deal with the situation?
Yeah, I'll start with the second one first. Like if I'm stressed or nervous or had a bad day, I have found that vulnerability begets vulnerability. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is if I tell the subject I'm having a bad day, they appreciate that. And then they may tell me something they're struggling with. And so I don't hide it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to, but sometimes I don't have to tell them all the gory details, but I could just say, hey, this is so amazing to shoot. I just got to let you know I've had this really stressful day. But I'm so grateful to get to do this or something. But because I find if I hide that, they know, they know that I had a bad day. But if I call it out, then they'll say, well, what was so bad about it? And I'm like, well, first I got a flat tire. Second, I don't know, something else bad happened or whatever. And then we kind of talk, and we're talking as humans, and it's less of a performance. So I'll let you translate that, and then I'll answer that first question.
Okay.
In a second.
Perfect.
Basically, don't hide. Be honest.
Yeah. Então, Gustavo, não sei se você pegou a mensagem, mas também traduzindo para todo mundo, o que o Chris trouxe aqui é que, respondendo primeiramente a segunda pergunta, que é como ele faz para driblar um dia ruim, não passar isso para a pessoa, é não esconder. Então, ele normalmente ele pode até chegar para a pessoa e dizer, estou passando por um dia ruim, o meu pneu furou, aconteceu isso e aquilo, e às vezes o próprio fotografado, né, também compartilha de alguma dificuldade que ele está passando no momento. Então, acaba que isso é uma troca, né? Ele diz como ele está se sentindo, a pessoa que está sendo fotografada por ele geralmente entende e aprecia isso, né? E, tipo, que bom que você está me falando isso. E muitas vezes a pessoa conta algo que também está passando, alguma dificuldade que também está passando. Então, o que ele quer dizer que, basicamente, é não esconder. Porque quando você esconde, geralmente a pessoa sabe que você não está bem, sabe? E você transparece isso. Então, basicamente, não esconder. Mas ele também fala que, às vezes, é necessário. Mas, em geral, não esconder.
Perfect. The truth. Every time. The truth. Because your body...
Your body tells it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might know, but your body...
Yeah.
Legal. E a primeira pergunta, André, fala de novo.
What about the first question?
The best part about...
the best part about it. People.
Yeah, so I'm an introvert, which means I'm shy. And the best part, I think, is kind of getting over that a little bit and making connections and friendships. And I've made some of my best friends through portrait sessions. And that's a gift. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about love. It's all about friendship and connection. And that's why we're here. So I think that, and then so I would say friendships first, and then second, well, okay, let me put it this way. Friendships with others, and then friendships with myself. I think when we meet someone who's very different than us, their age, their race, their gender, whatever, or their status, and we accept them and they accept us, it helps us love ourselves as well. So you know what I mean? And so it helps us grow, and then there's this great energy in the air. So I don't know, friendship. That's it. That's in a nutshell. I don't know how you translate that one, but
yeah, no problem. Então, basicamente, respondendo a primeira pergunta, qual a parte que ele mais gosta, né, de fotografar pessoas, é sobre conexão e amizade e as experiências, né? Então, ele relata aqui que os maiores amigos dele, né, as grandes amizades que ele tem, muitas vezes vieram desses momentos em que ele estava fotografando alguém, e sobre conexões e amizade. Basicamente, ele até comenta assim no fim, né? Resumidamente, conexão e amizade.
Hey, Chris, when somebody asks me why I become photographer, I say, because I love people.
Yeah. That's
because,
it. Yeah. And the camera gives you a chance to, like, I'm just trying to think of an example. Well, I'll just say from my own life. Because of the camera, I've become friends with some of my heroes. Because of the camera, I've become friends with people I was really intimidated by or maybe scared of because they were different than me. Because of the camera, it's helped me to have more empathy with others who walk a different path. And so, it's the love of people. And the camera, like, basically, let's say, Marcos, I saw you on the street. If I had a camera, I could walk up to you and talk to you. At least for me personally, it would give me the courage to do that. If I didn't have a camera, I may not walk up to you and talk to you. And I wouldn't necessarily have a deep, conversation about something. And so the camera allows us to do that. And then there was another question. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. Aline.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe I'll answer that one too. Is that okay? Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
She was saying, is there anything you would recommend to develop your sensitivity besides photography? And I would say yes, for sure. And so I think as photographers, we have to cultivate sensitivity to things that other people ignore. That sensitivity to quality of light, to color of light, to the vibe in the air, all these different kind of things. So part of that is, at least for me, is pausing to observe. And so one of my mentors told me that this is what great photographers do. Something happens or they see something, they say, wow, take a picture, and then they pause, and then they do the work of a photographer. So even without a camera, I try to do that. If something's like right now, the sun is setting outside. It's really beautiful. There's this field of flowers outside. If I was walking through that and said, wow, this is really beautiful, then to develop that sensitivity, I would say, okay, wait, let me sit down in these flowers. And let me just sit here. Let me lay down in these flowers. And I think if we do that, all of a sudden we become amazing photographers, right? And it seems silly, but it's actually practicing that without the camera. And then when you have the camera, it's just part of your lifestyle. It's not like anything different.
It's amazing. Perfect. Vai lá, André.
Então, o que ele traz aqui, né, respondendo a pergunta, algo que ele recomenda, além da fotografia, é parar para observar. Então, ele citou aí a paisagem que tá pela janela dele, que é uma paisagem muito bonita, o sol está se pondo, e se ele pudesse, ele gostaria de assim, né, estar lá fora e curtindo o visual e curtindo o ambiente. Então, a pausa não pausa para fotografar, pausa para olhar, na verdade, né? Pausa para prestar atenção e você aprender com isso, né? E quando você tem a câmera, aquilo começa a fazer parte da sua vida, né? Quando você tá com a câmera. Quando você não tá, você continua observando.
Isso é muito legal, né? Eu não sei qual foi a fotógrafa que disse, né? Que a câmera serve para a gente conseguir enxergar sem a câmera. Né? Fala aí, André.
Marcus is telling that he doesn't remember which photographer said, but the camera serves so we can
ver sem a câmera, né? A câmera serve porque é justamente essa observação. Quando você tem a câmera, ela te dá essa percepção, essa sensibilidade de enxergar mais.
when you have the camera, you have this perception that you can follow, you can see more. Yeah, basically that's what Marco said.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely true. And then the trick, of course, I think is to try to see more without the camera. And then the same thing, like if you're, like search for the story, even though the camera isn't in hand, because I think what can happen too is when we shoot, we can lose our sensitivity if we shoot too much.
Okay.
At least this happens to me, because you're shooting. And then you're like, I don't even know what I shot. I just shot everything. I mean, I'm like sort of like bouncing around. And so I think that's where, like, of course, sometimes you shoot a lot. Sometimes it's a fight. Sometimes you're paddling out in the waves and you're just like, I got to hammer through this. Sometimes you just, in surfing, those of you who haven't surfed, you get out there and you sit there and you're like, I can't believe I'm here. This is amazing. This is great. So you're practicing presence in the fight on the way out, when you're sitting there, when you're riding the wave. It's the whole thing. When you're walking to your car, when you're driving to the beach, and that the whole thing is surfing. It's not just the wave, and it's not just the click. And then to really become a better surfer, or I would say better photographer, it's like thinking about it in your lifestyle, in your life, not just here.
Yeah. Pessoal, isso que o Chris está falando é o que a gente fala sempre. Você fotografar menos para fotografar mais. Então, quando você diminui a quantidade, você aumenta a qualidade. Peraí, segura aí.
Desconectou a câmera.
Segura. Então, galera, o que o Chris está falando é totalmente verdade. Porque esse lance de você fotografar, você acaba não percebendo as coisas, porque você vai estar ali sempre clicando, atirando, e você vai acabar que você não vai conseguir perceber, você não vai conseguir ver mais, certo? Então, é fundamental que você tenha a câmera para você imergir ali. Cadê câmera? Cadê você, câmera? Aí, foi. Galera, pera aí. Segura, 1, 2, 3, calma. O StreamYard vai vir, ele é meu amigo. He's my friend, come on. No. Vamos ver.
Marcos has some issues with his camera right now, but he's going to be back in a moment. That's basically. His camera just disconnected.
I have to change my camera, man, because my Canon don't work.
Well, you and I can talk, Andre.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me see agora, deixa eu ver.
Let me see if we still have any other question.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't think so.
Okay.
There's a comment here. Elise Alencar, she's this person is saying that wants new editions of the visual poetry in Portuguese.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna work on that. I've really been thinking about it. So I appreciate that. Look at this, Marcus.
Hey, I'm bigger.
You're bigger.
I changed my camera. So, Chris, I have to tell you, agradecer. I want to thank you a lot. Because for this time, I say that in the start of this life, but you're very important to my school. You're very important to my life, my journey, for photography. Man, your book is more important book for me. And today is a great day, né? Vai ficar marcado aqui na minha história. And Chris, the workshop invitation is now accepted. And you are going to make it happen, all right?
Yeah. Yes.
I will bring 2 from Brazil, man, for the North Brazil,
Let's do it.
Get some surf here in Fernando de Noronha.
Yes, I am in. Brazil, I've always wanted to travel there. I have a few other good friends there. So I would love to do that. So let's make it happen. I think if you and I taught something, I mean, our energy, we're so aligned and we're so crazy and we're all this stuff, it would be a lot of fun. So.
Muito legal. Muito obrigado. Pessoal aqui, aproveitar, tá? E pega esse vídeo, pega essa live, manda para todo mundo, tá? Lembrando que todo mundo vai lá no Instagram do Chris Orwig, seguir ele agora, beleza? Segue ele lá. E, galera, leiam o livro, leiam os livros do Chris Orwig, vocês vão aprender demais. Quero agradecer também ao André aqui, que foi maravilhoso. Meu inglês é horrível mesmo, mas tudo bem,
Desenrolou.
Não tem problema. The Chris understand. Hey, Chris, you understand, man.
Yes.
My Spanish is much better.
Yes.
E my Português too.
Mi espanhol es mucho mejor que mi português.
André, brigadão, viu, cara? Quer falar alguma coisa aí? Quer perguntar?
Só agradecer, né? I just want to say thank you as well to Chris. When I was Marcus' student and also intern, because I worked with him, one of the first books he said it's read visual poetry.
That is
one of the best one, and he always tell every single student he has, he says read visual poetry. This is one of the most important books about photography and poetry and everything. Read this one. Yeah, that's basically what he said, and I'm just also saying it back. So you are really a very important guy to Travessa, to the school, and to us in Brazil. We really love your books, all of them.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Chris.
Gratidão também, Marquinhos, pela oportunidade de me chamar.
More often.
Gratidão. I see you, man.
Okay.
Falou, galera. Brigadão.
Thank you so much, Chris.
André, fala para ele que depois eu mando esse vídeo aqui para ele, o vídeo aqui da live.
100%. Okay, so Marcus is just thanking everybody, thanking you about for your time, and he's saying that he's going to send you this whole video so you can have it and share, and you basically will have this live session.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Pretty much. Thank you so much.
Obrigado, Chris. Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Vai, valeu.
See ya.
See ya.